Hello, everybody, and welcome to your very first look at the Supercup season of 2020 here at GPVWC. My name is Tom Parker, and today I have a certain McCready with me. Say hello, Stefan.
Good evening.
Yes, so here we are at Magny-Cours. It's your first chance to have a quick look at the 2020 Supercup field as we head for our first preseason test of two. Our second one is at Fuji Speedway next week. But we have got currently 14 drivers on track. Our current fastest driver is, once my game stops lagging, Frank Hamming with a 1:16.0. But obviously, testing, that's not all about the times. We've got 14 teams obviously looking to compete this season. We've got quite a few representatives from most teams here, so that's good to see. A few doubled up as well. We've got H2O, we've got two drivers here. We've got Crossfire, we've got two drivers, as have Razor. So good to see those guys putting in as many laps as they can. Stefan, what sort of things do you think guys should be looking at to do in pre-season? Obviously, new car, new season. What sort of things would you expect them to be doing whilst in these next 2 or so hours?
So I think teams will probably more than likely be focusing on long runs. I think long range pace is important. Naturally, Super Cup, should I say, runs on a 2-race format with a feature race. So I think tyre wear critically will be looked at, looking at fuel usage. And as you say, we've had updated cars as well. Literally in recent days, certain things have been updated. New tyre stuff has been going on. So they'll be wanting to check out what the differences have been made in there as well. So quite a list, quite a checklist that they need to go through. But the core thing I think for these people this evening will be nailing certain setups and certain long runs.
Yep, absolutely. I think you're right there. Obviously, if you want to test out those setups, like I said, we had an update literally yesterday, and I know a few drivers have come back to me and said, complete different car. I know one driver found 3 or 4 seconds just because he felt so much more comfortable. I know they've changed something to do with the tyres and how they react to the heat and the wear. So it'll be good to see what that does in terms of their preparations. Obviously, we've got 2 weeks until we begin the seasons in Australia. 16 race season, which obviously mirrors the Super League season, starting in Australia and ending in, I believe, it's probably Brazil. Can't remember off the top of my head. It's Brazil, yeah. So obviously, like Stefan said, 2 races in each race weekend, a feature race which comes first, and then a sprint race. Feature race usually around 45 minutes long, and sprint race usually around about half an hour. Like I had 14 teams this season in 2020, quite a lot of new faces and returning faces as well. If I just quickly go down, as is on the Wikipedia, if you want to go and see that more details, we have Crossfire, who used to be AB Racing. They are the Formula Challenge champions, so they are coming into the Super Cup season with a point to prove. They have the drivers David Yunt and Matteo Kiersmakers with Janos Brachos as the reserve driver. Obviously, David Carter, the manager there, and like I said, Formula Challenge champions last year, looking to prove a point in Super Cup. We then have Cliffhanger Racing with Wesley Stefano and Milan Ratkovic there, so we'll see how good to see how they do. H2O Monaco Racing with Tom Voss. They have Frank Hamming and Menno Klont. A very Dutch team there, but a very strong team as well, actually. Quite one to look at, I think, for the remainder of the season. Calamity MTR, who I believe have Matt Richards as one of their drivers. And I know Dan Kelly is signed up on a reserve contract, so it'll be interesting to see if he is there in the long run. And then we'll come to a team who I want to talk about very quickly, actually. Multiforce, I think they're probably the biggest mainstay in let alone Supercup, GPVWC. So interesting to see how they do. Obviously, choosing not to go up to Super League Lights or Super League, I think the Jason's obviously quite happy with doing just this. And they have Pedro Gomez and Craig Patterson. Why would you think, Stefan, that Multiforce don't want to move up to Super League Lights or Super League? Do you think it's purely because of Jason doesn't want to do the management side, or do you think they're just a bit more comfortable in Supercup?
So I think Multiforce are experienced. They know the game. Everyone knows that Super League Lights and Super League come with extra management, and that'll depend on commitments and how you want to run your team. Super Cup is an ultra competitive series as well. Really nice format. So I can imagine that is still quite an enticing prospect. Drivers want to do different things. It depends on markets as well. But you got to put it down to management, surely. Maybe that's being unfair. Maybe this is where they want to stay. They did it last season, and they seem to do all right. So maybe they want to build on that this season. I think there's multiple factors, but just to name a few, really.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much spot on there. They've been, like I said, they've been a mainstay in GP itself for years and years now. So, I mean, if like I said, they're comfortable there. No one's Supercup, even if they were champions. Obviously, the rules change a little bit there. But yeah, good to see them. Next is a team I know quite well, PB Racing, returning from a 4-year hiatus. They have Tom Vandervoort and Ben Willis in their cars. Next team is Pescara SRT from Italy. They have, as far as we can see, one driver so far, Adriano Opicini, I believe is how you say that. PLS Racing team from Poland is the next team with the two Mateuses, Mateusz Zibinowski and Mateusz Dabrowski, I believe is how you say that. So the all Polish team looking to make a mark. And then the next all Polish team, funny enough, PZZW Racing with Kasper Michalak and Alexander Ragoza. Interestingly, one of two teams to actually keep their lineup from Formula Challenge last season. So that is another thing we'll quickly talk about in a second. That's actually go to the second team that have kept their lineup from Formula Challenge, Razor GP, with Yanis Walburn and Rodrigo Carvalho. Do you think, Stefan, that will help them? Obviously, they've had the same team in Formula Challenge last year. Come to Supercup, obviously been promoted, and now they've got the same team in the same format in terms of two races, obviously a bit longer of one. Do you think that's going to benefit them throughout the season?
I think so. I think everyone knows what they want. Both the drivers have worked together for a season at least now. They understand what each other likes in a car. They'll be on the same page in terms of how to set it up. Obviously, the Supercup car is a bit different, but I think that's where the lineup consistency will come into play. They can help learn this car a lot quicker than, say, I don't know, one leaves and the other stays. You've got a bit more of a more relaxed and probably more fluid dynamic in that. And I think that hopefully that helps them coming up to this season. Coming up from Formula Challenge to Supercup can be hilariously daunting at times because it's a completely different beast of a car, but hopefully that consistency should sort of drag them on a bit easier than it may have been otherwise.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, I mean, they'll be more fluid. They'll have good communication, and obviously, if they've stuck together, obviously the communication must be pretty good between those four drivers in the two team respect. So, good luck to those guys in continuing their partnerships. Next, we have RTD Simracing, who have yet to, as far as I can see, sign a driver. I don't think they've got anyone in the server just yet, so we'll also have to wait and see for those guys. Rowan Grand Prix is the next team. We do have Nigel Marshall in the car for that. Obviously, I think he needs to just get that onto the Wikipedia at some point. But yep, see Nigel Marshall up in 4th place at the moment, so good to see how Rowan do. Satellite Racing, obviously from Super League Lights last season, have been relegated as you were. Obviously, they had a bit of a disappointing season last year. Obviously, I would know quite a lot about that, having been part of it. But yeah, Satellite obviously looking to make a bounce back in Supercup. Obviously, did very well last time they were here. And then finally, we have ST Racing. Obviously, Mark Fuller is driver for there, and I think he's still looking for a second driver for the team. We do have one spot open in Supercup. The management are deciding on what we need to do in terms of opening a tender for that application. May not do it. We're not sure yet. The discussions are still ongoing. So keep an eye out on the Discord and on the forums. We may be opening a tender for that. Obviously, if you are interested, just get a little portfolio involved, driver lineup if you can, and then obviously we will let you know as soon as we can. So 14 teams as we stand, 16 drivers in the server. Like I said, Frank Hamming still fastest on a 16-0. I've seen a 15-8 in the practice servers in the last day or so, and I think before that it was a 17-2. I think might have been faster. So why do you think this update has made the cars go so much faster? Obviously, like I said, it's related to the time, a little bit to do with the brakes. Do you think it's just purely a case of them being a bit more confident on the car, or do you think it's a case of the heat's just helping them manage their tyres, manage the wheel spin, manage the grip a little bit better?
So we were driving this. Well, we were checking this out last night as well, weren't we? After the update came along.
Driving was a strong word.
Yeah, that we don't talk about that. The way it seems, the way it's gone is that the tires don't seem to overheat as drastically. You can push them a bit more, and as such, as a driver, knowing you can push your tires a bit more, you're more inclined to go and drive it harder. From what it would appear, the rear grip, especially on this car, seems quite nuts. It seems to really be quite planted to the floor, so you can actually take the hairpin here as a good example. You seem to just be able to floor it out of the corner, which is great as a driver because then you know, okay, if I plant the throttle here, it's not going to try and kill me, which is always nice. Everyone wants that in the race car. The front end seems to grip quite well. I think the car's got a nice balance, and they seem to have really kind of nailed how the car drives this year in terms of that. And there's a few other things. It's hard to pin it down. Braking seems a bit stronger. It seems a bit more consistent. But I think it's definitely down to tyres. I think the confidence in the drivers has definitely improved since that.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think where, like you said, where the tyres have not reacting to overheating as much, I think that's probably what is helping the brakes. Obviously, you're not braking on hot tyres and bang, off goes your rear. Like I know a few drivers have said, and I know one driver, obviously Ben Willis, obviously PB Racing, I'm manager of PB. He said to me yesterday, he said he was so much more confident on the brakes, it wasn't even funny. So I wonder if that's where the confidence issues come into it. Obviously, brakes in any car is important, but I think Supercup's probably one of the harder cars to drive actually out of career ladders. Out of career ladder series, obviously Super League down to Formula Challenge. I think Supercup, like I said, one of the harder cars to drive. Always find that in the past, as obviously I've driven Supercup before. And yeah, brakes are so important, and especially in R Factor 2, obviously where the tyres are obviously a lot more reactive than R Factor 1, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how guys adapt to that. Let's talk about some of the drivers we actually have in the server then. So like I said, Frank Hamming, Formula Challenge last year, I believe. He was with H2O last year, I believe. I think he did quite well. I can't remember off the top of my head about everybody, but I know that Frank Hamming is quite a good driver. I've seen him in a few other series here. A force to be reckoned with, as is Matt Richards, who is currently second place, the only other driver in the 16.8. Matt was in Super League Lights last year with Drake, obviously decided to step down to Super Cup this year. Probably, I think it's fair to say, more known as a touring car driver. Why do you think Matt's dropped down? Do you think it's more of a case of preference, or do you think he's maybe got a point to prove, saying I can be one of the better ones in Open Wheelies? Because he did have some good showings last year in Super League Lights.
Matt, considering he's considered more of a touring car driver, is still fiendishly quick in an open wheeler on his day. I suspect it's probably preference. I kind of imagine this car suits more how the way he drives a car. It's a bit more mechanical in that sense. There's not as much aero. You kind of have to force it around the corner a bit more. Still well balanced, but you still have to kind of hound it around a bit. So I think that suits his style more. And in fairness, yeah, I think it probably points down to a point to prove. Going into Super League Lights is a hyper-competitive series. It was last season. So going down into Super Cup's the same. But I think if the car suits him a bit more, he can get more ingrained with the series and probably get more out of it for himself and for his team that he drives for.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned Super League Lights, obviously hyper-competitive. There is the aspect of upgrading a car in that sense as well. Super Cup, along with Formula Challenge, is a spec series, so all cars are the same. Obviously, the setup and extra is open, but obviously the core chassis, etc., of the car is the same for everybody. So maybe that's something that could potentially help his driving style. Obviously, the Drake may have been updated a little bit, not to his liking maybe, but like I said, I'm excited to see how Matt does in this season. Obviously, like I said, a very good driver, very good friend of ours, so it'd be good to see how he does. Next driver, Mr. Recently promoted to manager, actually, Menno Klont. Menno's I've always found Menno a bit of a weird driver. Lovely guy. He can be very quick, but he seems to be someone who I consider is probably the most consistent driver I think I've ever met. Like, he's always there in the top 5. He's always there. He's there to pounce when something goes wrong for someone else. He's always up there. He always nabs a win or two. What do you think it is about Menno that makes him such a consistent driver?
I don't know. You kind of watch him drive. He's quite smooth with it, even though sometimes you do see his car in a ball of flames. No, I think he's quite relaxed. He's quite experienced. You've got to remember as well, he's been around GPV for, well, as long as I think I've been around, which is probably 5-6 years now, which, God, makes me feel quite old.
You won't see me, mate. I'm 11 years.
Oh, I see. It's mere petance then compared to some service going on. He's a smooth driver. He knows the business. You kind of put him in any car and he's thereabouts. He's kind of got that natural pace. I suspect, in my own opinion, he's probably underachieved in some areas. I think he could get more out of himself during a season. But you're right, though. He's there, isn't he? He's usually a really... If you want a team that you want to reliably score points, you kind of look to Menno to get you those points, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good... And you know what, he's actually a very clean racer as well.
Yeah.
I've been driving alongside Menno for years now, and I don't think I've ever had a bad experience with him on track in a race situation. So, very clean racer, obviously very, very well-respected member of the community, obviously, is seen with his promotion to the management, which I think everyone can agree with is actually an absolutely 100% right decision. And we're already seeing the benefits of him being a management member. Next, Nigel Marshall on the list, 4th place at the moment, 17.7. Personally, I don't know too much about Nigel, but it looks like he's driving for Rowan GP, so fingers crossed that he can give us a good showing. Looks like he's got some pace in him. Next is a very good, another friend of mine, Tom Vandervoort. Tom Vandervoort is a Super Cup winner, as is Menno. As Menno has won over a Super Cup race in the past, but Vandervoort, been out for a couple of years now. I think his last full season may have actually been 2015 when he did win that race in Bahrain alongside myself actually in Simcraft. So it's been a long time since he's been around. Someone who is fiendishly quick on his days. I mean, when I was his teammate, you had to really, really try if you wanted to be on his level. As actually looks like it's a bit of rain, so
spitting, isn't it now?
yeah, it looks like it's spitting. So that could be another thing actually. So, I mean, you'll touch on that in a second, obviously how that affects things. But going back to Tom, like I said, fiendishly quick. I think he'd be fair to say he struggled with consistency a little bit in the past. He's been out for a couple of years. We'll see what he can do in the coming season. I know he's got so much determination. I've not seen him like this, with fire really in his belly for years and years. So really excited to see how Tom does this year. Obviously not biased at all, being PB's manager, but yeah, yes, he's gone out to the Inters. Like we said before, obviously we're using this test session to test everything out. Like I said, I don't think anyone was expecting rain. I know I wasn't. Do you think now this gives them a bigger opportunity to test out the wet tyres and obviously the Inters at the moment for Tom? Do you think that this is going to be a key intervention for them, or do you think there's something they can learn in testing throughout the pre-season? Sorry.
So I think it's good. I think when rain turns up in testing, some people like it, some people don't. To me, it's kind of an important opportunity to test certain things. Wet and intermediate compounds, find the difference in the crossover. So I do think those are quite useful. If you remember F1, they brought the sprinklers out because they wanted to do some tyre testing for Pirelli. I think it was 2014. So it is useful to get this sort of running in. You don't want dry running all the time, because when you get to, say, a wet track, you don't want to do what BMW did in 2006 and get disqualified from the Hungarian Grand Prix, because that is mildly embarrassing. So teams will make use of this. I'd like to hope they would anyway. It's a good opportunity, because sometimes we may not see a lot of rain. So hopefully we see some people out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it spices up a little bit as well. But I think a lot of drivers tend to, well, maybe not ignore, but try to be a bit complacent when it comes to rain. Not as much testing goes into it, and you can really tell who has put their head on and done the homework with the wet. So this would be a good idea to for them to see how it reacts. Really, I haven't actually got the percentages, so I don't know how hard it is rain at the moment. Have I got that? Yeah, so it's 2% rain at the moment. It's 13% offline. So not too bad, little spits here and there, but like I said, a good opportunity for everyone to have a go. So let's go back to some of the drivers. We've got 16 people in the server at the moment, so obviously people can come in and out. No set limit. It's not obviously going to affect anything. No R&D. We've got just another opportunity for everyone to give it a go. So Janos Brakshock, he is the tested reserve driver for Crossfire. So could be a potential to see him in the car come Melbourne, should one of the other two not be there for whatever reason. Speaking of teammates, Matteo Kismakers is one of the Crossfire drivers. I believe he's Lawrence's brother, who himself is very quick. Interesting to see how he does this season with Crossfire, formerly AB. So with David there as his teammate, I think that's going to be potentially a one to watch this year. Craig Patterson, also someone who I think is a bit underrated, quite a quick driver. He is driving for Malta Force. I know he's done quite a lot of the pre-season stuff for them, presented their livery yesterday. So good luck to him. And obviously another mainstay of the league, David Yunt, obviously Super League podiums. He's won races in Supercup. He's won races in World GT, GPV. One of the longest serving GPV drivers this year. You supposed to see him down here? Because I would have expected someone of his caliber to be up in Super League lights maybe. Are you supposed to see David down in Supercup, or do you think maybe this is probably where he's going to be similar to Matt in a way, maybe in terms of like trying to give himself a point to prove?
I think as you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we see David move around a lot. As you say, he's been around it. He knows the series quite well. I think I've noticed a trend recently of the older guard starting to move down series. I think more from a fun aspect. I suppose once you've done Super League for a while, you kind of lose a bit of love for it, or you just get bored of the management and car difference and want something a bit different, which Supercup provides. Am I surprised? Yeah, slightly, because I'd have still thought you would have done Super League like this or Super League. But it's people change, want change, and I think this is probably quite a good one for David to embrace, one might say.
Yeah, I think you're right. David, like I said, he's a really lovely guy. A bit like Menno, actually. He's someone who's always going to get you points. He's going to get you top five. He's going to always be there or thereabouts. Very good at taking an opportunity if it's presented to him. So good luck to him. Obviously, I've been racing personally with David since I started sim racing back in 2008. So we didn't go a long way back. But yes, good luck to him. We'd like to see how he does in the Super Cup this year. Next driver on the list, 10th place, Mark Fuller. So another one who's been around the league, even longer than I have. He's been here for years and years and years as Mark. In Super Cup this season, I think he's yet to actually have a teammate. So if anyone is looking, give Mark a buzz. I'm sure he'll be happy to have you on board. I think fair to say Mark's a bit more of a GT racer. Where do you see Mark? How do you see Mark doing this year? Obviously, lovely guy, lovely bloke. I've driven for him before in Super League. How do you think Mark will fare this season?
I don't know. As you say, his experience is tin tops, isn't it? So you see him around the ITC grid a lot. Rest in peace, F in chat for ITC and in World GT as well. I've again had the pleasure of driving under him, so he is a lovely guy, and I do hope him for the best for this season. Hopefully, this is kind of his year for single seaters. As we've said, we haven't really seen what he can do probably in single seaters. He's been a bit off of the mark at times, but hopefully he can embrace again. So this comes back to the confidence thing and the car. I think the changes this year to the car will help people who struggled in the past with these sorts of cars improve. So hopefully we get a bit more competition in it, and hopefully it helps Mark Fuller in his endeavours.
Yeah, like I said, I think Mark, one of the nicest blokes on the grid. I don't think I've ever actually had an argument with him, bless him. So yeah, really hope the best for Mark. Next driver on the list is Paweł. Right, I mean, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Andrzejewski, I think is how we're going to say it. But yes, Paweł, we'll go for that. Part of he's reserve driver for PLS Racing, so potentially, like I said, same as Janos, we could be one who we see in the next couple of rounds should one of the drivers be unavailable. Next driver is PB's second driver, Ben Willis, as he goes for a little drift coming out of the hairpin there. But Ben's another one, a bit like Mark, a bit like Matt, very much a tin top racer. Obviously, you and myself, Stefan, know him very well. I think he obviously said yesterday he's a front wheel drive touring car man, so this is sort of a completely alien prospect to him. But do you know what? I think he's adapted quite well. He like I was saying earlier, he really found a lot of confidence in the last 24 hours for this update. So how do you see Ben doing this season? Obviously, have you known from a personal point of view as well? How do you think Ben will do this season? And personally, obviously we've got a lot of confidence in him, having signed him. Obviously, I'm not expecting wins. I'm not expecting podiums. I know Ben is going to be someone who's working on his consistency. I know he struggles with that quite a lot sometimes. So how do you see Ben doing this season?
I think Ben will openly admit himself he's got a bit of a lead foot. So watching Ben in rear wheel drives is always quite an adventure. But no, we saw it last night. He, in like a pre-season test sort of thing, seemed to adapt to it really well. These cars, as we say, are not easy to drive, and in the case of Matt and Ben, going from a front-wheel drive touring car like an MG to this it's night and day really in difference. So it's a daunting prospect. Ben's done open wheeler stuff in the past. He's done reserve duties for different Super League and Super League Lights teams, and he's done some stuff for his own team as well. So he knows single seaters, and I don't think he's probably ploughed enough into a season to really get used to it. So hopefully, with the work he's doing on his consistency, and if he can calm down his right foot, we know he's committed to series. He takes this stuff very seriously, which can only be a good attribute in the end. He can have a good, strong season this year. When he's confident, he's quick. I think is what it is with Ben. Just needs to find that consistency.
Yeah, another thing I think I'll say for Ben is last night, like I said, we were obviously doing a little bit of a pre-season test, and he was just spouting stuff about setup. We can do this, and I was just there like, what? Oh, I ain't got a clue. I'll openly admit I'm not very good with setups, but Ben is just so on point with it. He knows what the car does. He knows how to fix the car if it's reacting not the way he wants to. And I think with someone like Tom, who is that experienced head, obviously he's coming back from a bit of a hiatus, but he knows what he's on about as well. I think he's someone that he can learn from. So I'm very excited, like I said, from a personal point of view as the manager, to see how he does. But obviously, like I said, from a spectator's point of view, to see how his progress goes throughout the season. So I think he's someone who you could say is a potential for like maybe one of the better people to improve throughout the season. Maybe starts around just outside the points. I think Ben would be fair to say that's about where he is, and maybe towards the end of the season going for those points finishes. So good luck to him. Obviously, I hope you do well, Ben. I've already told Tom that if he's in the away for a win. Ben wins automatically, so there we go.
Instant team orders, love it.
Instant team orders, we've already sorted that out. Yeah, obviously, jesting aside, yeah, good luck to Ben, and I hope he does very well. Next driver on the list, 13th place, Janis Wolburn of Racer GP. Now, Racer GP are someone I've actually seen a lot of in this preseason on the practice server. On here, they've got three drivers earlier. I think they've got 2 in the server now. They seem like a team who are really, really committed to the cause. How much do you think that will help a team? They've obviously come from Formula Challenge last year. How much do you think having that cohesion in pre-season helps the team throughout the season? Because obviously it shows that they're pretty committed.
I think, yeah, it's good. I think when you come to pre-season testing, it depends on your team's attitude and depends on obviously the driver situation and whatnot. But you want to be hounding the laps in. It's a feel-good factor, right? You come into a pre-season test, you see that lap count number at the end, you go, okay, I've done X amount of laps. Maybe 100. We might not see that tonight, but we're getting into a good lap count already for some people in the short space of time we've got for this test. It builds confidence. You learn the car, you learn the quirks. What does it do over certain curves? What does it do in high speed? What does it do in sort of close quarter, low speed? So you build confidence as you do lap by lap. And I think, as Razor is showing, they're clearly enjoying the longer runs in their very eye-saw-inducing livery that they're running for the pre-season test, because that is a hell of a digital camo livery. But no, I think this will be good. I think it's a good way to start building upon Formula Challenge, and hopefully as the season progresses, they'll start to warm into the series a bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if you to show that level of commitment for a team coming from Challenge, it's the right mind, isn't it? Okay, they may not be where they want to be straight away, but it shows that they want to progress and they really want to get up there, really. And obviously, talent. Talent can only take you so far. Determination is 9/10 of the law. So good luck to those guys. And obviously, Rodrigo in 14th is Yanis' teammate. So great to see those two and how they've progressed through the season. 15th place, Mateusz Dabrowski at the moment. He is part of one of the all-Polish teams, PLS Racing Team. And then we finally have Dan Kell, who I believe is MTR's reserve at the moment. That's what I saw on the website, so I'm not 100% sure about Dan. Another driver who comes from a touring car background. I've raced him a few times, very fiendishly quick on his day. Same thing, I think, same with Matt, really, isn't it? In terms of wanting to learn open wheelers a bit more, committing to a season. Quite a fun guy, actually, as well. So I was having a bit of a laugh in the chat there. So I'm excited to see his progress as well throughout the season. So obviously, that's 16 drivers we've got so far. Like I said, quite a lot of laps going out so far. Menno Klod top scoring on laps at the moment with 38 on the server. Currently in third place with 17.5. Obviously, a bit of rain in the air, so we're not going to see some massively quick, blinding laps at the moment. Rain's still at a very paltry 2%, but is 19% off the racing line, which obviously it says 0, but obviously it's not 0 because, R factor. Yeah, so that's the teams and their drivers and the current drivers in the server. Like I said, 16 rounds this season, obviously each with 2 races in each event. We start off in Australia, finish in Brazil. Looking at that grid, looking at that calendar, sorry, we've lost Malaysia, Spain, and obviously the big one, Monaco. And they've been replaced with the Dutch Grand Prix, the French Grand Prix, and Russia, respectively. Any of those ones that you're surprised to see go out or in? Any ones you want to see that are exciting to see, or any ones that you think might be that could be a bit boring? What are your predictions for those ones in particular?
The removal of the Monaco Grand Prix was an interesting one. I think it's come up every season, hasn't it? That Monaco's always been a bit of a question mark, and we've always needed a bit of a replacement. And what they've effectively done, and I think I can't remember who said it last night, but they've replaced it with a Monaco but without walls. Zandvoort's going to be an interesting one. I don't know if we're going to get the kind of racing we're hoping at Zandvoort. It's not a particularly good circuit for racing. There's a couple of opportunities, but nothing major. I think the usual classics will get. Silverstone produced some good racing last year across the career ladder. Hockenheim's usually pretty good. Spa in Monza is usually a good run. And to finish on Sao Paulo is a bit of a classic move. You can never go wrong with Interlagos. Baku as well. I mean, we all love a bit of Baku, don't we? If you want craziness, I mean, you look no further really than Baku.
Absolutely, we get two helpings of it. Absolutely gorgeous. The Supercup here. So I think you're right. I mean, I love Zandvoort. it's probably one of my favourite tracks to drive, but it's a bit, it's one of those tracks. It's a bit like India, a bit like Korea. Fantastic to drive from a spectacle point of view. Not sure. I can see why Monaco's gone. I know there's been a lot of issues in the past with the amount of drivers we've had on track, etc., etc. Gets a bit clogged up. I personally, I'm not a fan of Monaco, so from my point of view, I'm happy to see it go. But like I said, the Dutch Grand Prix, basically, yeah, the walls have been moved about 3 foot back, and you put a bit of sand in there. That's it, really.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a lovely track. Really, really fun to drive, but spectacle point of view, I'm not really sure. But to see France in there, obviously, we're going to Paul Ricard. Long straights there, some opportunities for some good racing, and Russia. I'm surprised that was off to, quite frankly, it was off actually, because I actually quite like Russia. I think it produces some good racing. So we'll see how those ones come out. Russia, obviously, towards the end of the calendar. We've got the classics in, like I said, you've got Silverstone, you've got Suzuka, you've got your Brazil, which we're going to finish the season on. I can't wait. It's going to be a great, great, great season. What else can we discuss? So let's do a quick, I'll tell you what, we'll do a quick review of the 2019 Supercup season. So last year, the champion was Jason Muscat. It was quite a comfortable point total in the end, 298, compared to Michael Francesconi. Both of those, I believe, have moved up to Super League Lights. So good luck to those guys in there. But yeah, I had a quick look at the stats earlier on, actually, so if I can pull them back up again. It was really, really interesting to see. So Jason and Michael, they both won 6 races. They both competed in all 32 races. The key one was in points, so finishes in the points. Obviously, Jason, I think it was the secretary, had more. Can you guess out of 32 races how many point times Jason Muscat finished in the points without cheating?
Well, I'm trying to find the stats. It's a good thing I didn't have them up at that point. Go with 25.
No, he finished the points in every single race.
Oh, no wonder he won it then.
Precisely, and this is what I mean. Someone like Menno and David, Jason's one of those drivers. He will always finish in the points, and that is what wins you prizes. Jason, like I said, Jason last season, he finished every single race, all 32 races in the points. He, like I said, 6 wins, and a lot of those were podiums, 18 podiums as well. Which in a series like Supercup, where you've got to come through the grid a little bit in the sprint race, that's not easy. So it's props to see what he did. And I'll tell you where, in terms of, like, you can see the consistency factor, where he only had 1 pole position last year. Francesconi actually had the most with 6. So Michael, you'd probably say, is the faster driver over a lap, and maybe on like a proper hot lap, you probably look to him. But you go to Jason, you want consistency. I mean, look at that, 498 points he finished on, a cool 79 points ahead. I mean, Francesconi finished in the points 29 times, but he DNF'd 3 times, and those 3 times obviously was what cost him in the end, which is a huge shame. But like I said, they've both gone up to the Super League Lights, I believe, for this season, so good luck to those guys. In 3rd place was Kosmala, the only other driver to actually compete in 32 races last year. So just goes to show that you sharpen, you do consistently well, and you're very likely to have a good finish in this season. So yes, that was your top 3 from last year. It was, just to remind you, Muscat, Francesconi, and Kosmala. And in the teams, obviously, Zederic Racing won the championship with a cool 784 points. A bit closer this time, though. TG Racing only 20 points behind in 2nd place with 764, which is crazy to see, really. Obviously, 32 races, 64 opportunities for points. To finish only 20 points apart, that's a bit mental, isn't it?
That's the beauty of this kind of racing now. It is, you get that craziness with the feature race and the sprint race. So you've got insane amount of opportunities to score points should you have a, let's say, a bad race, because you don't want to have a bad round. It can really massively put you on the back foot. But 20 points, considering the amount of racing we do, the laps we go through, and the crashes that occur throughout the season, and the different issues you can have, that's good going. That just goes to show how competitive this series though is, right? You've got multiple drivers finishing ridiculous amount of points finishes. That's what we like it. That's why we love it. It's good racing and it's competitive. So more of the same hopefully comes to this season.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's the beauty of it. It's such a close season. You wouldn't be able to find one driver who you think, yeah, he's going to dominate. And I think it's the same this season. I mean, you've got your David Yunts. Sorry, you've got your Vanderbilt, you've got your Kears makers. But can you see any one of them dominating?
No,
really?
I don't think you will.
No, you can't. So, fingers crossed. Like I said, we see a really, really close season again. The rain's picked up. We've got a few more drivers now onto the Inter, so that Richards is having a venture. out on them. Obviously, we're not going to see any lightning times at this moment in time. We've still got an hour and a half left of this session. We're going to be live until about 9 p.m. Great British time, so we will be around for about another hour or so. And everyone who is watching, hello. Obviously, we'd like to see if you have any comments or questions, please ask in the chat, and me and Stefan will do our best to answer them. Obviously, Matt Richards, please won't go away. From a touring car point of view, yeah, you would want to go used to it. I'll tell you what, let's go for a lap on board with someone. Who should we go? I'll tell you what, with Matt, aren't we, I believe? So if we go on board with Matt, where is he on track in a moment? Just coming through sector 2. Right, we'll stay with Matt. I think we're on board with him at the moment, so we'll go on board. If you want to go for us, obviously you did some testing yesterday, so if you have a better idea of how to go around this track.
Yeah, pressure. Oh, you've Martin Brundled me. I can't believe this.
Oh, come on. I mean, I can't drive it, so I think you did a very good job. I mean, if we ignore the second chicane, you did a fantastic job yesterday.
The second chicane. All right, we'll give this a go. So you come through the final chicane. It's a deceiving little one. If you get a bad exit, it kind of ruins the first sector of the lap completely. Turn 1 is a very fast corner. Completely flat, double apex. Hard to break down into turn 2 or 3, depending on how you define it. You need to be quite patient. It's a deceiving corner. It's not as quick as you think. You then have a long straight down to the hairpin. You've got a lot of time to think about what's going on around you. See the sights, read the bad build. Then you've got a heavy braking down into this corner. It's deceiving. It's actually tighter than you think. The car likes to wash out, especially in conditions like this. You then now have another smaller straight. You've then got an insanely quick right and left chicane. You need to nail this, not flat, but you can take a lot of curb. Take a wide entry into, I can't remember what corner I want anymore, I'm so distracted by this. Then you come into sector 3. It's quite a short lap. You've got another fast chicane coming up, which if you get this wrong, as I found out last night, it hurts. Slower again than you think, you cannot take much speed in, and then you come into a slow, effectively a hairpin again. Not as tight as the first one, but still deceiving. Gas it as you come out, and we avoid the car that's currently sat randomly in the inside of the hairpin. You come back down to the final chicane area. This has changed a few times, but now it's a very tight right-hander, and it follows into a very tight chicane. Again, deceiving. The curbs will annihilate you if you go over them. And you come across the line.
Lovely stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those tracks that is very deceiving, isn't it? So going into the turn 2 or find it. It's so deceiving, and it's like you think you can gas it, and then bang, you're on the AstroTurf, and I'm telling you now, that AstroTurf is slippy, and it's just crazy. Like, we've seen so many drivers get caught out by it. Like, it's so tight. And coming down to the hairpin, like I said, another one, you can get on the power a lot later than you think. It's so much tighter on the exit. And this first chicane, it's one of those ones that you can actually take more speed into it than you think. I think in the dry, you can almost get it flat on a quali lap. So, and with the changes this year to the rules for using the curbs, there's quite a lot of curb you can take. And obviously, yeah, this left-hander here, like I said, I think it's turn 6 or 7 now. We've lost count again. Yeah. It's so much tighter than it looks. And this second chicane, like you said, like you found out yesterday, like being serious, it's got a nasty bump on that second apex, and you will fly around. And you've got to be so careful. I mean, personally, I quite enjoyed driving Magny-Cours when it was back on the track, back on the calendar a few years back. But a very tricky one to get accustomed to quite quickly. There's a lot of different sorts of corners, fast ones, slow ones, bumpy ones, smooth ones. It's such a crazy one. This final chicane, you can't attack that second one. You see Matt there, he flew up into the air, just clipping that second apex. And I've seen a few drivers cough then, looking into the wall with blowing up. And it's such a tricky track, but it's one that's quite rewarding. And like I said, I love driving on it. I think a few drivers do miss driving on it as well. I think it's a good one for pre-season because, like you said, there's a lot of different ways you can go on setup. I know I was talking to Ben last night, and he was saying obviously the way he's gone for setup, you can go completely the opposite way, and it would probably work. And it's great to see. And obviously we go to Fuji next week, which is a completely different track again, long straight, obviously at the end there. So a great opportunity for guys and girls to get their heads in and to get a lot of different setups sorted. So as we go into the second half of this test, it's just about to start. We are 1 minute 24 to go. 1 hour 24, can you imagine? 1 hour 24 minutes to go. 4 on the circuit. Obviously, Frank Hamlin quickest on the 16.0. Menno Clark putting a good shift in at the moment, making Mercedes look poor with 46 laps. No DAS involved here, though. Can you imagine?
No.
That'd be great. You see Menno pulling the steering wheel. But what are you doing?
Simracing has evolved.
But yeah, I saw plenty of time for drivers to jump in, jump out. Obviously, no structure in terms of what you can do. As long as you just keep it clean, keep it fair. Something I was talking to Ben last night actually about is the effect of dirty air this season. I know they've actually reduced the values slightly as well, and he was saying that if you get into dirty air, it's a struggle. And with the way that some people set this car up, it can be tricky. What would you do as a driver, Stefan, to combat that in terms of setup, in terms of driving style? What things can you do to affect the dirty air to your benefit in a way, to stop it affecting you so much?
So I think you naturally look to aero. I'm not a setup god, I'll be honest, but you naturally look to the sort of front end. Some people like a really responsive car, which in my opinion is not overly the best thing to do. The front end bites, but I think as soon as you get into dirty air, it can kind of catch you off guard a bit here. As we know, these cars are quite low in aero anyway for what they are. You could assume as an open wheeler they're insane for aero. But they're not like a Super League Lights car at all. They will start to understeer quite heavily. But I think if it were me, I'd be looking to make sure I've got good front end grip, so I don't want it bouncing along the floor. I want it to at least bite and have a bit of crisp. Because if you look at it this way, if you have a car tuned to understeer, which I know you're a good fan of, you're in for a world of pain. I think if you go into a lot of dirty air. But I'm surprised, to be fair, because I didn't think these cars were too aerodynamically efficient. So to hear that the dirty air is quite bad is quite a surprise. Obviously, it's not like Formula Challenge where massive groups of cars all race every lap, sort of thing. But I'm still a bit surprised at the amount of these cars get impacted. Obviously, it was reduced as well. So we'll see how it does impact drivers, because I think it will be a bit of a challenge, especially in the feature race.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like we said, the tyres, the grip levels, and how they react to the heat is actually back a little bit towards. Well, the tyres have obviously been brought up to R-Factor 2's latest standards, and obviously the way they react has been a little bit further back to 2019, not fully. So we're not on 2019 tyres. They've just been scaled back a little bit more towards those values. And like you said, you get a world of understeer, and it will be a good show of who can actually manage that really well. If I have a free setup, whether they're going to compensate for that. Obviously, Supercup does have really close racing, especially in sprint races. I think you'll find you'll find some of the drivers who aren't accustomed to it, who maybe are some of the top drivers, may not be able to get past some of the others so easily. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage with that. But obviously, we've got two compounds of tyre in Supercup. Obviously, the rules state you must use both in the feature race. Obviously, a minimum in that case of one stop in each feature race. Obviously, the standard usually goes soft to medium. Obviously, we're using the soft and the medium this year, the red and the yellow striped tyres. No hards are involved here. What would you do in terms of strategy? You sort of would try an alternative strategy, maybe to maybe start on the mediums first and then go on to the soft at the end. I mean, personally, I would. I mean, I'm quite a stickler for an alternative strategy. What would you do to in terms of, say you're at Silverstone, quite a high wear track, would you maybe go for the mediums and then go on to the softs, or would you do the more traditional soft medium to try and get the initial grip and then try and work your way towards the mediums on the end?
So I think it depends on where you are on track, right? If you're in I think if it was the top 10 situation, I'd probably go with the group. Depending on the race scenario, if you're stuck behind cars and you're close to the pit window, maybe try and pit early, try and get the undercut, try and get yourself some clean air. Extend a stint. Certainly if you're in the latter half of the grid, I know I certainly used to think about alternative strategies to try and bump my way up the grid. You always try and find ways and means to get yourself ahead of cars, and sometimes an alternative strategy, while slower, can actually find yourself in cleaner air and extend a stint. Again, it just depends on where you are. We see it in F1. If a team's in the top 10, they'll probably just stay with a safe bet. Some teams like to mix it up with drivers, so maybe you're going to a race with a predefined plan between the two of you, so you've always got one angle, one arrow covered. But I think top 10, I'd keep the same, stick with the pack and work from there. Anything below that, then you can start to think about it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Like I said, if you're maybe someone who's not as good at qualifying, maybe just cut your losses. I know that's sort of something from my point of view I would do quite a lot. I'm not the strongest qualifier in the world. Rest in peace, quali pace. So I would put the mediums on. I would go for the mediums. I'd drag out my first stint, and then I would go onto the softs, and I would just go a lot faster than everyone. I think, oh, I can get some points here. I can get a top 10. I can really push, and I'm somebody who quite likes overtaking people, which yes, you all do. But it's something that you can have a bit of fun with, I think. And I always, like I said, I'm a stickler for it. If I could, I would do it every time. Obviously, like you said, if you're towards the top, you want to try and keep the pack. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Really, you want to. If you're trying to cover someone off, you don't want to be going on to an alternative strategy or anything like that. You want to do that. Obviously, if you're trying to fight for the win, you want to go for it. And if you follow the pack, it's probably your best chance. But yeah, someone like Australia, I think it's a pretty safe bet, isn't it? You're going to be on the softs and the mediums. Yeah. But it's to get to the sprint race. So obviously, like I said, sprint race about half an hour. It's going to be interesting to see who can make the softs last. So obviously, we're not going to be 100% sure on where we're at in terms of who keep their tyres well until maybe even after Australia. But how close do you think it could be between the softs and medium for the sprint race? I mean, some people will gamble and will go softs and try and do a one-stop. Do you think we'll see a lot of that season, especially after we've had the reduced effect on the heat in the tyres and how they react to that? Are you expecting more one-stop races, or do you think we're going to be seeing a lot of zero-stop mediums, playing it safe, playing it, or do you think we'll see those? Maybe, for example, if you're finished 6th or 7th, you get that reverse pole. Do you think we could see more risks taken this season?
I'd like to think so. I think the fact that we've reverted more to the 2019 tyres is probably a good thing for the race itself. Well, so I can't remember how it went last year, but I think some people were able to manage the softs for quite a while. I know in terms of my preference, if you're going to go into a sprint race, that's usually half an hour. I prefer mediums. You don't get the pace benefit, but you get the race-long benefit of tyre life. We'll see how it goes. I don't think teams really fully know what they're going to do until after Australia, and maybe even after the second round, just because you get a better idea of what's going on. Australia's a unique track in a sense. It's basically a street track, but at the same time it isn't. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm kind of keen to see how this one plays out, because it's so, like, people find it fine margins between what you do tyre-wise. I think we can't really make a prediction with these new tyres until, say, after round 2 properly.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, like you said, it's unique Australia, both in terms of the fact it's street, but it's also one that you get 2 months to practice for, right? Like, yeah. you can practice for laps and laps and laps and laps and laps of weeks and weeks on end. I mean, there's only a 2-week gap between that and Bahrain. You will get potentially hundreds, thousands of laps less. So, like you said, round 2 is where we're going to see who really has got a good handle of this tyre, of this mod, who knows how to manage it, who can manage the car, the tyres, the strategy. And it's going to be really exciting, because Bahrain's one of those tracks that always produces good racing. I myself have had a few good results there in the past, so I'm quite a big fan of it. But like you say, we're going to see after round 2 who knows what they're doing, who has got it sussed out. It's all well and good doing 1,000 laps for your first round, but if you can't carry the momentum you've learned and your speed into the second round, it doesn't help, does it? I mean, you want to be prepared for all of them, but if you go balls to the wall in Australia, yeah, it'll help for Australia. Is it going to help for France in 6 races time? No, not really sure, is it, really? And yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, like I said, Australia unique. I can't wait. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. But yes, that's not for another couple of weeks yet. We still, like I said, Fuji next week. Very exciting Supercup. I've always been quite a big fan of it. I've raced probably as much as I've raced in Super League. I've always preferred it. I quite like the 2-race format. So the feature race first, 45 minutes, sprint race 30. The strategy element, you have got a little bit of strategy involved. So you think, oh yeah, what can I do different? It's a bit of fun. And like I said, it's a bit less serious, right? Like, that's why I personally, I don't have the time to manage a Super League Lights team, a Super League team. Of course, I'd love to. Especially this year, I can't commit to it. Obviously, you've been a manager in the past, obviously with Apex, and you were in Formula Challenge a couple of years ago. Was it last year? Last year you were in FC, weren't
last
you?
year.
Yeah. Obviously, you haven't done it for this year. If you had a choice, would you have gone Super Cup or Super League Lights, or Super League, sorry, either one of those? Where would your preference lie? Would you prefer a one-make series, or do you think you would like to give management a crack one day?
So taking into context, last year we managed to get Apex to 4th in the series. So I think regardless of whether the opportunity is there, I still think it would have gone Supercup. I think we still have quite a nice career ladder management, like tier system still going on. Whilst not as stringent as it may have been once, I think we can openly admit that at times. I still think it's good to go through those phases and try and work out where you want to go. Because if you make the jump from Formula Challenge to Super League Lights, that's you kind of think, okay, Super League Lights has got reduced management, but there's still a lot to think about. Like finding drivers for Formula Challenge at times can be difficult. So going into management, sort of sorting out bids, car upgrades, etc. It's a fair big task. If we were to stay in, and it was the only reason they're not there now is because of sort of time and commitment issues and things like that. It probably would have been Super Cup just because it's less of a step up. But at the same time, you still get good racing, and there's still a good opportunity to sort of grow the team from there.
Yep, that's fair. And I'm like I said, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I've never ever managed in Super League or Super League Lights. I've been part of plenty of teams that have been obviously in Super League. Obviously, I've been part of CSG, Midnight, Vodball, etc. Evolution last year. It can take a toll, and I think I said it in Discord a couple of weeks ago. Like, I don't think people realise how much you've actually got to commit to Super League.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I used Evolution as an example. You can't expect to go into Super League and win. No teams done it. CSG CSG the only exception, and obviously they had the Midnight link, and it's a bit different. But Midnight, I mean, look at Midnight 2011 when they came in. Mano, watch out, Mano. Midnight came in 2011. They finished 4th in their first season. Dave Clark Smith, Nick Rowland. But then they went away, and my God, having been part of that team, I know how hard they work, and it worked. Look at 2012; they absolutely dominated everybody. It wasn't even close, right? And then you get Vodball. Vodball came back in 2015, nearly won the title, and they came back in 2014. They had a bit of a slow start. 2015, they nearly won the title. No, they did. They won the drivers, but they didn't quite win the teams with Philip Pushka. And then it all clicked. Like, they spent a few years working at it, and then they won. And then now you've got Evolution. Evolution 2018, obviously as being part of that team myself. 2018 was a learning year. Okay, you had the ACR link, whatever, but you still didn't win immediately. We came third in 2018. Very good result for a team, admittedly. But Dennis won one race, and then obviously I stepped down. Yannick came in, and the same with winning drivers, really. Like, so Yannick, for example, started out in Supercup himself, 2018. He wasn't winning races, right? He was top 5, he was top 10. He was decent, but he wasn't winning races, right? Going to Super League 29 in 2018, the end of the season, was good, but wasn't. I think he got a podium or two, but he wasn't winning races. When you get to 2019, you've had that preseason, you've had that half season. Dennis has had that full season of working. Then look, 2019 blew him around the water, and it just shows that how much commitment you need. And Dennis is another one, like I said, like Dave, like Nick, like Mike of VB and ACR. How much work you've got to put in is absolutely mental. And like I said, it takes up a lot of time. And if you can't commit to that, I wouldn't personally, and like you said, you wouldn't either. It's just not worth it, and it's not really fair. Obviously, all 14 teams we've got in the Super League at the moment are going to obviously some massive names there. Obviously, we'll see those in a couple of weeks when we do our preseason broadcast there. It'll be myself and Josh doing that one in I think it's next week. Yeah, so next week we'll be looking at those. But you're right. You need to commit. You need to have your head screwed on, and you can't expect results instantly. It's impossible. It is impossible. I mean, Epic, I think, are the only example I know of a team to win on their debut, and I don't think they'll mind me saying it was quite fortunate. I mean, Jeff, brilliant driver, drove brilliantly on the day, but had a long time in front of him. He had, I remember Risto made a mistake. Liam Duval obviously I think he made a mistake as well. Someone else, who was it? Who was driving at the time? I can't remember who his teammate was, but he crashed as well. Dennis crashed. I crashed. I was with Jeff at the time, so it was quite fortunate. But even then, he started to peter off because they hadn't had that experience.
Yeah. So
you're right. You have to be committed, but that's not saying that Supercup guys aren't. Obviously, some brilliant managers here. I mean, look at Jason. He's been around for a long. He knows what he's doing. He's obviously made that decision, and it's great to see that he's still here because it's obviously not been put off by it. Multiforce, I don't think I think they may have won a title once or twice in the past, not for a couple of years now. But yeah, Super League, you really do. It's another level of commitment, and it is crazy. But let's get back to Supercup, obviously, which is why we're here. 13 drivers in the server at the moment. Frank, obviously, still fastest on a 16.0. No times have been improved on, obviously, with this wet weather. How are we doing on the wetness? So rain's got 3%, but obviously we're getting quite wet now. 31% offline. So still a little bit damp. Maybe onto wet tyres soon. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Can't help but notice these cars are really struggling offline. I know it's wet, but as soon as these, and to be fair, Magny's conducive to it. The moment you go offline here, my goodness, they're struggling like turn 2 and 3. It's understeer for days, so it's really testing the drivers' these conditions. I'm liking it, especially we're in that sort of crossover period where people will still go like, oh, do we not, sort of thing. So this is kind of important because GPV's thrown some of these kind of conditions around in the past. So this is a good learning experience for everyone here, really.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I said earlier about being complacent when it comes to the wet. These, okay, there's only 14 now people circuit. Those 14 are now going to have a very 99% chance of knowing better conditions when it comes to Australia if this happens. It's Australia, probably not going to, but you know what I mean? Like, they're going to have 20, 30 laps experience and they'll know how the inters react. They'll know where the tyre cliff is potentially. They'll know what different conditions are like in different levels of wetness, when to switch to the intermediate tyres. I don't think we'll get to the wets maybe towards the last 10 minutes or so, but they'll have that advantage and it can pay dividends, can't it?
Yeah, you, especially in those last-minute decisions of when you go to say a wall-up or a race and it starts raining, you're instantly educated. You know, oh yeah, in Magny we were at this percentage. This is what it was like. This is what our track was like. So you just put yourself in a better. Like, knowledge is power when it comes to this sort of stuff. So it's really important that they do more and more laps under these conditions. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, you've got PB, both PB drivers are here. You've got 2 from Crossfire. You've got 2 from you had 2 from HT. Yeah, you still got 2 from Calamity, and these teams are going to go into it more prepared. And potentially, if it comes to Australia and it is raining, you're going to be looking at these guys and thinking, okay, they're probably going to be up the top. So good on them, and good on them for sticking around, quite frankly, because not everyone should be driving in a way. I myself. Yeah, I like it, but I'd rather not. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather not. I don't mind it, but I'd rather. Good to see these 14 still plinging around. Obviously, we've got the broadcast up. Hello to everybody who is watching, all 13 of you. We've got a new overlay, as you can see. Shiny Supercup. Thank you very much to everyone involved. Broadcast Gerrit does a fantastic job in leading the group in getting this sorted. Obviously, he's the cameraman today, so hello, Gerrit. But like I said, it's an understatement how much we've moved on in this pre-season. We've got a new overlay. Like I said, it's got a user's race view as a background, but obviously I think it's been made from scratch if I remember rightly. So we've got Supercup, obviously green, and then it can be interchangeable. So for Super League lights, we've got, I don't remember what kind of Super League lights it is actually off the top of my head, but Super League obviously blue, Form Challenge red, and the Academy Series purple. So it will be tailored for everything, and that's just another little thing we're trying to introduce. So we want to try and improve the experience for everyone, not just the drivers, but the spectators as well. Hopefully you all guys are enjoying it. Obviously it's got the tyre compounds as well. We've never had that before, so you can see what tyre compounds they're on. See the times, you can see the temperature, the time left. It's great, and I can't wait to see even more improvements coming in for the future as we move on with this pre-season. Obviously that's why we're doing this broadcast, obviously to give you a bit of information about the Supercup 2020 season, but also to show off some new toys, show us what we're doing, some new camera angles, and we hope you are enjoying the show. So let's have a quick look. What else have we got? So it's quite cold, 10 degrees, obviously not going to be that cold in Australia, I'd hope. So still got a bit more testing to do offline. Obviously teams will probably have their own service to go on, they'll have their own grip levels. What sort of things would you be looking in if your team were in Supercup? What would you be telling your team to be doing in the lead up to Australia? Would you be focusing on quali, on race? Would you want to have a good balance of both? What sort of things would you be looking in for, say Australia specifically, obviously first race of the season? What would be your main aim, obviously, apart from winning? That'd be lovely. What would you want to realistically see from your drivers going into a first race of the season?
So I think first round, yeah. So I think the main thing is comfort. You want 2 drivers that are fully aware of what the car is going to do. You don't want to be going to the first race and going, oh, I don't know what to do, because it's just a nightmare. You're on the back foot instantly. So in this sort of take this pre-season and next, I'd be saying, look, let's not worry about quali, because ultimately it's Australia. There will be accidents. So if we can get a consistent pace to make the most of those sort of accidents, we can probably get something good out of it. Maybe do quali runs for 10-15 minutes at the end of like next test. Is it next week? So
yeah, next week Fuji.
So ideally you'd be looking to do quali runs there. If you look at how like real racing teams do their practice, you don't see them doing quali runs all day, because there's just no point. They're really, you don't gain much from doing quali runs really in practice like this or testing. You don't learn what the car's going to do, because you do 3 or 4 laps in quali trim on any evening, and that's it. That's that knowledge used and done. So for me, it's about comfort and long runs and knowing what your fuel mileage is like and knowing how the tyres degrade. So just learning how a car evolves through a 30-40 minute race, I think it's the most important thing at this moment in time anyway.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That's pretty much what I've told the lads to do, Ben. Just get comfortable. I mean, obviously, Ben, like we've said, has found a lot of comfort in the last 24 hours alone, just like a new update. So for him, especially, it's just getting comfortable, getting used to the car, maybe doing a bit of setup work just to see what works. Obviously, we're not racing here, like I've said, but any knowledge that you can find out of what does what to the car, like, will work in Australia. So if you want a bit more turning, for example, you try that here, it will work in Australia. I mean, a track's a track, right? If it's slow speed in one track, it's going to work in the same sort of thing in Australia. So, or if the same thing for a high speed, if your high speed is good, you want to try this with this certain setting, that will work fantastic. So you can take that into Australia. So like you said, learning experience, and great to see that some guys are making the most of it. Like I said, we've got a few drivers through the 50 marks already. We've got Frank Hamming on 52, Menno and Matthew Keersmakers on 57 each. So they're the winners of the day in terms of lap count, so good on them. Obviously, I think they're both from Crossfire, actually. One's from Monaco, one's from Crossfire. So those teams, a lot of data to take on into Australia. So obviously, like I said, we have 2 races in Supercup. Feature race, sprint race. Obviously, feature race, 45 minutes long. Have to do a pit stop. Sprint race, no stops required. Obviously, if you can get 3 on 1 set tyres, fantastic. And we also have the reverse grid. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's between 6th and 10th. I think that's where it was. Usually 6th to 10th. How important do you think it could be for someone who finishes 6th, for example, to get on pole and obviously run away? Like, how much of a confidence boost do you think that would give? So, from my experience, obviously, I've been in that situation before, where I've qualified on pole and I've gone, oh my god, this is my chance. Do you think the pressure can get to them, or do you think they'll see this, right? It's my time. I'm going to try and get a podium. I'm going to prove it. What would be your thoughts on that?
So reverse pole's fun. I remember it I think I've had it on a couple of occasions. I think I had it both in ITC in Donington and then the last round last season. It's a confidence boost because you know that nothing's really going to happen in front of you, so it's kind of up to you. As long as you get a good start, how turn 1 goes is based on how you can decide how it ends up. And obviously you can use it to your advantage. So you're already at a strategical win at the start of a race. And obviously you want to grasp an opportunity. You don't want to waste it. I think some people deal with it better than others. So I'm generally okay with it. Obviously you've got, when you're in P1 and you're not really there usually, it's kind of a like, oh my god, sort of nosebleed territory. So that can affect you. I think as you do it more, you kind of get used to it and it doesn't really become a thing anymore. You just go like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. Roll with it. But I think, especially in this series, as we've seen already, if you finish well, you're in with a shot. If people can make the most of those opportunities, I think that'll drive them forward. I think with the way the car is this year as well, you can be fairly certain you've got a decent car under you. So it's just a confidence thing. I think it depends really on who you are and how you deal with pressure. I think it can do, but not for all.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I said, it's everyone's different. Like, I mean, you and me probably. I'm probably somebody who doesn't thrive. I'm not the best under pressure, but it's still nice to know that I'm a pole. I've got a damn good chance here, especially if you finish 6th. I mean, 6th to 1st, there isn't. In some cases, there's not many. There's not much 10ths, maybe a 10th or 2. I mean, Super League last year. I talking to Alex Cooper the other day, and he was like, I qualified 4 tenths off pole. I was 13th. and it can be
Yeah.
similarly close in Cup, if not closer, because it's a spec series. So it really can be an opportunity. But like I said, everyone does it differently. It's just like I said, getting used to that pressure. It does take. There's been a bit of luck involved as well. Obviously, you've got a bit of luck to be finished sixth, but like I said, it's something that comes with time, isn't it? Really, but obviously we do have 2 races, and we start one. First one is in Australia in 2 weeks' time. Looking based on the driver lineups we've gone through so far and what you've seen tonight, have you got anyone who? Okay, they look pretty good. Anyone that you think maybe, yeah, I could see them doing well this season, or do you think it's even though we've obviously had a few laps, it's still too early to tell?
I think based on what we've seen, Humming has clearly been quick. We don't race here necessarily. It's got similar corners to other circuits, so it has got similar characteristics, but we don't race here in particular. So you can't use Magny as a full extent. People, and as much as it is a virtual world, people still do sandbag. We do hear about it going on, so people don't really reveal their full pace. I think you can rely on the normals. I think you can go, Matt Richards is going to be there or thereabouts. He was quick in Super League Lights. You've got Menno, you've got Van der Voort, who is probably one of my ones to watch of the season in terms of how he progresses and comes back into it.
Correct
He's
answer.
Completely unrelated to commentary bias. But we know he's quick. He just needs that consistency and to fight. He's fired up, which is always a good thing when it comes to this sort of stuff. You need to be fired up to compete in these series, because if it's not going well, it can get you down pretty quick. So I think you've got the regulars. Frank's looking quick, but honestly, I don't know if we can fully say until either Fuji or the feature race in Australia. I think those are the 2 where we'll start to see he's consistently quick, not just here at Magny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's the same as really. I mean, Mercedes or sandbag. Oh God, Ferrari might be quick. No, it's not until you get. It's not until you get to obviously we're thought it'd be Q3, but it's like I say, it's not until you get to the qualifying last 5 minutes. Okay, now we're going to take the fuel out. Now we're going to show what we can actually do. Teams, like I've said before, have got their own servers. They know what they're doing. They've got their grip files. They've got their setups, and obviously they're not going to share it with anyone. And like I said, it won't be until qualifying last 5 minutes of Melbourne. Even then, like you said, maybe not even to race 2. They might have had a bad day. Like, who knows? Like, we've had teams in the past have had a slow start and then they've just gone bang in the past. I think Risto Capit was I think he's a good example of one like that. I mean, when he first came into the league, he wasn't the fastest, but he worked on that, and race 2, whoa, where's this guy come from? What the hell? And same with Yannick. I mean, look in Super League, look at Yannick, like I said before, half a season. Okay, he's all right. He's not a bad driver. 2019, he wins the title.
Yeah,
it is all about like a lot of it. Some of it is luck, like I've said before. Sometimes race 1 might not go your way. I mean, I think from my experience in 2015 Supercup, me and Van der Voort, 2015 we started off well, we had good qualifying, but race 1 was a nightmare. In fact, the entire Australia was a nightmare. We then responded by doing 1-2 in Bahrain, and I think in a way, like, it's how you respond. If things do go wrong, don't panic. And I think that's what me and Tom did in 2015. And how much of effect, how much like mental strain do you think you need to have, and how much like mental strength do you need to have to bounce back from a bad opening weekend?
See, the opening weekend's always a rough one, because you want to do well, you want a really good start to your season. There's huge content going on on the circuit right now. But you want to, you want to impress, you want to make that first impression, you want to make other teams go, oh, hang on a minute. And when it doesn't go your way, say you get taken out race 1, you're instantly like, oh God, here we go, sort of mentality. And some people, as we've seen in the past, do turn around and go, whoa, I don't know if I'm up for this after the first round. So you do see it vary in how people's commitment works. But most often or not, I think people are good enough now and are wise enough to it to go, all right, it's close racing, it's a spec series, it can't be like this every round. And sometimes it is. Sometimes you have 3-4 rounds of absolute rubbish. But it's just, if you can overcome that, then you're bound to get success at some point. I mean, it's just finding that motivation.
Yeah, and it can make or break someone's season, like I said. I mean, but it shouldn't make or break your season. It's one round or one race. Like, you can't let that affect you. And that's where you see the men from the boys in a way, isn't it? Like, like someone like myself, I'm guilty of it. I've had a race like in 2015. I thought, oh, crap, can I do this? But then you think, okay, buckle up, Tom. You can do this. You proved it. You got pole. You know you're quick. It was just a bad on that day. It was just unfortunate events that happened, and you've just got to take that into the next round. So when we come to Bahrain, and a different team turns up, and it's crazy, and it's just like there was another team that was really like, who was it? There was another team that was like crazy for that in Super League a couple years ago. I can't remember who it was, but it just shows that you can't let things like that get to you. You've got to just get on with it. Basically, if it's being brutal, you just got to get on with it. If you're a team manager, you just say, look, okay, rubbish round. Who cares? One round, I don't care. You've still got what, 30 races left.
Yeah, I think the best I've seen of it is probably Alex Siebel when he had disconnects here, there, and everywhere.
Oh yes,
in Super League, and he still went on to win the P. It's like, all right, dude, what? Come on,
give everyone a chance.
It's mad. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's dedication.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, like he didn't let it get down, and bang, he won the title. As Ben goes for a spin across the finish line. Luckily, not to hit that wall though. That second part of the cable lifts you up. Can you imagine if we were racing here? Oh my word!
It would be like that.
It would be. You'd have a lot of crashes, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you're right. Mental fortitude, very, very important. So who have we got in the chat saying hello to Mr. Carter, Mr. Carvalho? You should be on track, young man. What are you doing on there? Yeah, it's nice to see. We've got 16 people watching, which is pretty good for a pre-season. Obviously, spread the word. We want to try and get as many new faces to the league as possible. Obviously, GPVWC is part of. So we've got a career ladder, so Super League Light, Supercup, Formula Challenge. Work your way up, try and get to Super League, show you're the best of the best. We obviously have quite a unique system here in Super League and Super League Lights, where you have to manage your team, you have to buy your bid, you have to get bids for personnel, you have to buy an engine, you have to upgrade your car, which opens on the 28th of February, boys and girls, so get ready for that. Yeah, so come and join the fun, really love the community. Quite a lot of upheaval, I think it's safe to say, in the last few weeks. But things are starting to look up, and we are all really excited. From a management point of view, obviously I've joined the management recently, and we're all really excited to see how this season pans out. And we've already started for 2021. We've already got a few ideas of what we want to do. And there's big changes. Obviously, Stefan, you yourself working on the website, which is coming along really, really nicely. I think we've got an interview. Who was it that's coming for an interview? Who was it?
Mr. Carter.
Oh, Mr. Carter. Where is he? Oh, yeah, we can bring him in. Where is he? I can't find him in Discord. Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, okay, well, I'll drag him in.
You can tell it's the start of the season.
Yeah, I've done it in a long time, man. Right, let's bring him in. There we are, Mr. Carter, Mr. Crossfire himself. How are you?
Not bad, thanks. Yeah, just enjoying the testing, really. You know, finally get back on track and back doing some serious testing and learning all about this new 2020 Supercup car.
Absolutely. So you're I think you are the only team to actually have had all three drivers turn up. So me and Stefan have been going on a lot about, and you probably heard it, about how important it is to have everyone there, everyone on the same page, and how much like testing can help. What is it you've said to the guys for tonight? Have you told them just to go out and have fun, or have you got like a set plan for what you want them to do tonight?
Set plan, pretty much. Don't take it too seriously, but just explore the different tyre options. So I must admit, we wasn't expecting to run the intermediates tonight. I must be honest, but that wasn't part of the plan. But a massive advantage, I think, going forward, just to get some running in, because like the likes of Mateo's never driven in the wet before in R-Factor 2. Janos as well, just getting used to the car for the first time. Obviously brought him over from FSR as well, and I know it raised a few eyebrows around the Discord, for example. But yeah, it's been great, you know, and getting a whole new lineup this year, working together early on in the season, it's great, and everyone seems really happy, which is a good start.
Excellent, and that's what you mean. A happy team's a good team, right? We've all experienced that before. You want to try some good chemistry. So you got David Junt as one of your main drivers. We've been on about how consistent he is, and have you seen that so far in pre-season? Talks with him. Obviously, David, like I said, massively experienced driver in his time here. Having someone like him, how much of a benefit is it for your team?
Massive, because you know what you get. You know what you get in. He's been around the scene a long time. I've known him for getting on 7-8 years. You know, racing with him in the past, and what appealed to me was the amount of big teams he's driven for in the past. different communities. He knows his stuff, and you know exactly what you're getting with him as well. So it's and I needed that sort of reassuring figure in the team, thinking he's going to be there, he's going to turn up, which, as we know from last year in Supercup's kind of a big thing, having someone to turn up all the time.
Yeah.
So it was it's great, and you know, we kind of worked together before in a short spell quite a few years ago. So to be in another working relationship again is good to see, and he deserves a seat in the likes of Super Cup and higher. I think, you know, he was in FC for a little bit last year. He helped Red Arrow get promoted in Formula Challenge as well a couple of years ago. He deserves a shot, you know, and we're really happy to have him, and likewise he's happy to be on board working with the guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me and Stefan were saying earlier, we are surprised not to see him in Super League Light, Super League even. He is champion. He has won the Constructor Championship with Red Archer. Okay, it was 9 years ago, but he has.
Yeah.
And he's got that experience. And like you said, consistent, you know what you're getting. And that is key, like you said, in Super Cup, where you need to turn up, you need to get the points. And, well, it worked for you last year. I mean, Formula Challenge champions last year, obviously under a different name. But you come into the new season, new name, new season, new partnerships. What expectations do you have? Obviously, coming into it as champions, you've got a bit of a target on your back. You're the new boys on the block. You want to prove it wasn't a fluke. What are your expectations for this season? Are you going for the title, or are you just thinking top 2?
No, not title. I'm actually, realistically, I think top 5. Realistically, this year. And if it's top 3, it's a bonus. You know, I'd be a miracle for the championship, I'll be honest. I'm not expecting it unless dramatic things happen during the year regarding things like attendance or outside things. But for me, it's more of a learning year, and you know, it's a new, and I say, you know, it's an experienced lineup. You know, Matteo as well. He's not so much in GPVWC, but he's been around, particularly with his brother as well. You know, he's been around a long time. So, but it's probably not the sort of, I mean, look at the likes of Hamming, for example. Matt Richards racing today. Van der Voorts, when Sven de Vries obviously races as well. You know, they're massively talented drivers, and they're going to be difficult to beat on any day. So in this sort of spec series, which they're very experienced at, so it's going to be very difficult. But if we just get my target for now, solid points at the bag the first round, you know, Australia, and work from there. You know, but I think if we get top 5 in the championship this year, I think that's a good job, with maybe eyes on promotion if we can.
Lovely stuff. You mentioned obviously a few names there. Have you got any team in particular thinking, oh, rubbish, they're going to win? Like, have you got anyone on there? Because me and Stefan talking about it, we think it's obviously a bit too early, but have you heard anything through the grapevine? Have you got any teams that they're one to watch?
I think, well, I see Namaka at the moment. Worries me a lot. Worries me a lot, to be honest. They're looking very strong. Hamming. I mean, he's been an absolute revelation, and since, you know, I'm at the start of last year, he's at the back of Formula Challenge grids. He's learnt the sim, and he's come on leaps and bounds since then. So he's been outstanding. Obviously Sven, you know, you don't have to talk about Sven. You know what he's all about. You know, but not too sure what his teammate's going to be like though. But you know, if we can get Sven on board, they're going to get a half decent teammate on board as well. The one I'm really interested in, and I think a few people are talking about the team, is Pescara.
Yes, actually, yeah, you're right.
Pescara SRT, we're pretty sure what their lineup's going to be, and we haven't seen them test or anything, but we kind of know what lineup we're going to bring into the series. They're going to be pretty strong, I think, as well. Apart from, well, of course, yourself as well, Tom Peeb. Van der Voort.
You didn't have to say that. You didn't have to say it.
Oh, the flattery.
The wiki helps. The wiki really does help. But no, I think particularly when you come on board, because I expect you to do a few races this year. You know, I'm yourself and Tom in particular going to be very, very strong. And I know I'm here, but I don't have to rattle the popcorn, you know, as I'm here. You know, I do like to see a controversial comment here and there. It's not a popcorn moment.
Ready for
apart from that, also Cliffhanger, brand new team. They've done great in other series actually, and I know I'm part of MDR as well in some degree, and they really do rate Stefano quite highly. I've seen Rakovic race a couple of times now. He looks pretty good. I think they're going to be dark horses for the odd race victory, but I don't expect them to win a championship. Apart from that, not really worried. about the rest as such. I think we've got an edge on the rest of the other competition. I think a lot of the competition is going to be solid, but not spectacular. And the ones I've mentioned, they could be the spectacular ones this year.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think, like you said, Monaco are looking blindingly quick at the moment, aren't they? Hamming obviously first and third, and like we've said before, Hamming's quick. Menno is the same as like you've said with David. You know what you're getting with Menno. We've mentioned it before. He's won races. He knows how to lead a team. He knows how to win races, and he knows how to keep on track and win. I mean, and like you said about consistency, obviously we were saying about how Jason won the title last year because he did 32 races and scored points in 32 races, and it's so important that you get that. But it can make or break a season, can't it? Like it's so important. And you, particularly, obviously, I know you've done a fantastic job, obviously, with AB last year, Crossfire going into the new season.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see it. I mean, like I said, it's going to be close. It's going to be a bit like F1 in real life, really, isn't it? Like the F1.5, as you want to say. Like, you don't know who's going to be. One race, you could have PB being top of that 1.5. You might then have PLS being next. But you don't know, do you?
No, it's a lottery.
Yeah.
It's a lottery. I mean, last year in FC, it was 3 teams, really. It was Mouse 1 was actually the fastest team. But the one thing that the really vital thing, and I said this in the broadcast the other day, race 2s will make or break your season.
Yes.
Big time, because because that's the thing. If it was just a 1 race championship last year, not two races per round, Mouse 1 would have won the championship easily last year. But race 2, they kept having incidents and bottling it a little bit. And that's where we got the points so much last year, and just had that edge all year in the standings. But it's any team, I say, I'm not sure how quite you work, Tom, but you might do something similar. If you could set yourself a points target per round as a team or as a driver, and you hit those targets consistently, you're going to be up there at the end of the season. If you don't, you might could afford 1 or 2 bad rounds, but if you're an aim of winning a championship, set yourself a points target per round, which you think's realistic. You keep hitting it, you're going to be in the top 2, top 3, no problem at all. So as long as the team keeps turning up, of course.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like I said, consistency, set a points target. I mean, personally, I don't do that. Obviously, I've come into it. Obviously, I applied. I'll admit I applied for SC, but I've got promoted to SC. I'm not really bothered. But I'm doing it obviously for the fun aspect of it. But I know that Tom, especially, I mean, I've never seen him more fired up. I was saying before, it's so competitive. And like you said, it might be good for someone like him to say, right, Tom, I want to see you get top 5s. I want to see you get top 10s every race. I want to see you try and go for that reverse pole, maybe sneak a race 2 victory here or there. And I tell you what, you're absolutely right. Race 2s are absolutely key, especially in a series like this where you've got the tyre difference, you've got the strategy element. How do you think, as a manager, you're going to approach that? Obviously, FC last year, 2 races, exactly the same, one compound tyre, bang, easy peasy. How would you do it from a manager's point of view? Obviously, I've spoken a little bit from myself and Stefan's done from his point of view as well. What would you do in a situation like that? Like, what would you tell your drivers to do? Would you split it? Would you tell them, right, go for soft, go for it? Or would you say, right, go for mediums, play it safe?
That's a difficult one. I mean, I'm the sort of guy who I like to play it safe. The one thing I tell the drivers, if you're in a points position, if you just say to start the night, I'm going to get a 5th place and 8th place, would you take it? Some people would, some people wouldn't. I know I would, because you could very easily walk home with nothing at the end of the night. So, if we're in a safe position is what I aim for. I don't really try and go, got to win every race or do this, do that. So I'll probably more than likely take the safe option as the season goes on. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I've learned something because I'm new to the game myself. I've only been managing for a year, or really only taking part in a couple of series. So, it's a learning process. I think the managers with the experience of not only the league but the community will have the big advantage, like your motor forces, like yourself, as well, like the Calamities as well, because Matt Richards has been around a long time. They'll have the advantage, and Satellite. They'll have the advantage going forward because they're used to the format. So, but yeah, I think to answer your question there, I'm probably one there to just play it safe, see how it goes. If it worked, brilliant. If not, I've learned something.
Yeah, it's very, very philosophical view. I like it. I haven't got any more questions. Stefan, have you got anything, David, or we're going to let him get back to watching his drivers pound around the track?
I suppose my only question, because it has quieted down on the track right now, is how are the drivers finding the car? Because obviously we got the update last night. How are they finding it?
Much better. I'm not getting moaned at every 2 minutes now. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great, and we had a couple of discussions behind the scenes about it, and we was a little bit worried for not only for the drivers and the racing aspect, but the spectacle of the show. They brought it back, I think, more towards last year's car, and I've had no complaints. So we're happy. I think a lot of the drivers are a lot happier now from other teams. So I think now it's a good position where we can work with a base setup now and just tweak it a little bit. Particularly the likes of Janos and Matteo, who are not so used to the cars. They've come in and they seem to have settled in really well. So and they've thought. I always like to get feedback from them every time they drive, and the feedback I've had today and late last night has been really good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, David. We wish you the absolute best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Obviously, you know what you're doing.
Not too much luck. Not too much luck, I bet.
Yeah, well, if you could just finish third and fourth behind Ben and Tom, I would absolutely love that. But yes, seriously, good luck.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you on track. Obviously, I miss your dulcet tones as my commentary part of this season.
That's all right. You're glad, really. Deep down, come on.
No, I loved it. But yes, good luck.
That's fine.
I'm sure we'll be seeing David and Matteo and even Janos when he races on the podium. And
Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
good luck and thank you very much.
And keep up the great work, guys, as well. You've been doing the community as well. You know, we all really appreciate it. Not might be said too often, but I thought I'd say it now. You know, we keep up the great work, and I hope you both have a great year.
Oh, I've got a tear in my eye. But no, thank you very much. I know. Oh, but yes, thank you very much. And
take care, guys.
Yeah, thank you, David. So, yeah, great seeing inside team manager. Do you agree with everything he said there? Crossfire about top 5, top 3. Personally, I think he's being a bit pessimistic. I really do think he's probably got a title tilt in him.
So, teams will do that. I used to do a lot. You always understate it. You never want to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to go win the title," because if you don't, you look a bit stupid. So I kind of get where David's coming from. I do think they'll probably achieve more than what they're aiming for, which is great. But yeah, I think they're in for a good season. I think they've got the drivers there and they've got the team experience. Just got to convert into those points, as you said. Race 2, I think you'd hit the nail on the head with that one.
Absolutely, yeah. Race 2 can make or break a season, especially in a series like this. We have 2 drivers now. We have Mr. Calamity and Mr. Calamity times 2.
Brilliant.
Matt Richards. Yeah, I mucked that up.
Brilliant.
And Matt Richards. We have the so Matt obviously second place at the moment, and Dan will talk less about your time. How are you finding it? How are you finding it, boys? Dan, are you reserved? Because obviously in the wiki, I know on the thing it says reserve driver. Are you driving full time this year, or are you just going to be reserve?
Just be a reserve. I'm not good enough in these cars. I'll let the good people at it.
Fair enough. How are you finding it tonight? Obviously a bit wet. Were you expecting that, or is it just a bit see what we can do, hone the setup a little bit, see what we can learn?
I mean, both of us were kind of hoping for dry because we'd rather. I mean, I'll be honest. This is the first time I've driven the car. The last time I drove a Supercup car was the last round of 2018. So I didn't even drive last season's car. So it's been a bit of an experience, especially in the wet. But we've got some valuable information from it. We've tested quite a lot of things that we wanted to look into. So that's been pretty good so far, and the car feels okay. It doesn't feel vastly different to what I'm used to, and feels pretty responsive. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's fair. What about you, Dan? Obviously, as reserve driver, what's your role, and as obviously manager as well? What role would you be sort of looking into doing tonight then?
I was sort of just trying to get some experience with the car, just in case I get called up during the season, because I haven't driven a Supercup car since 2017, I think it was. And yeah, I'm not normally an open wheeler type of person, but it's been nice to get back into a bit of a higher powered open wheeler, because I had a couple of goals at Formula Challenge over the past couple of years, and I didn't do too badly, but it's nice to drive a better car.
Which brings me on to my next question, obviously, funnily enough. So, like you said, you're both not used to these sort of cars. You're both very damn quick, actually, if I may say so myself, touring car drivers. What would you say, from both of you, what would you say is the biggest difference between a touring car, for example, and this? Like, what changes in your driving style do you need to make?
100% the feeling through downforce.
Agreed.
You with a touring car, you can set it up quite a lot on just the mechanical feel of everything, and a lot of the suspension feel that you can get through the car and the response through the steering wheel. And you can also almost personalize it a lot more to your driving style, practically to the millimeter of your ride height, just because that one little change can mean one little bit of rotation over something else. With an open wheel car, the difference with the downforce, especially going from, say, an NGTC car to a Supercup car, is insane, because you have to focus so much on the wings, and there's so many different variations of what you can run, with the balance difference between your front and rear wing, whether you're running more front, more rear, whether it's a big difference in balance or only one or two clicks, and finding the actual sweet spot for each track is a lot more difficult than setting up suspension, because in a touring car, once you have the suspension set up for one track, it's going to be millimeters or little tiny bits of toe or camber here and there to change, whereas with these you could spend hours just looking at the wings.
What he said.
Fair enough, I was going to say, yeah, Dan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I get scared by the amount of grip in these sometimes. Like, I go in through a corner and I just have a comfort lift, and I just see people just fly around me. I'm like, how the hell do they go around this corner so quick? And then I try it next lap, and I'm like, oh, it actually grips. It is scary how fast some of these cars can go around a corner compared to that of a NGTC car.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is the downforce difference, and having the confidence to just not necessarily chuck it into a corner, because I still find that you have to be quite smooth, but to just think, right, I can go another 3 mile an hour quicker through here, and that thing of telling your brain that you can go quicker through there, and then you do it, and then your brain's thinking, I can still go quicker through there, and sometimes you won't hit the limit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've got experience like you both, both of them, and you're right, it's an entirely different world, isn't it, really? Like, it's crazy how much you've got to change your driving style, and you've got to think about, oh, crap, I can push myself here, and it's mental, and I agree with you both, but I think you'd probably both prefer to be in a touring car, wouldn't you, let's face it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why. Matt, we were talking earlier about last year you were Super League Lights, you Drake, and now you've dropped down to Super Cup. Why is that? Is that more of a personal thing in terms of you don't like Super League Lights, you don't like the development of the car, etc., or is it just you want to show that you are quick in these cars? You may not say it, you are quick. Is it a point to prove? Do you want to say, I can do these open wheel cars, I can win, and you think Super Cup's more suited to you, or is it just a case of, oh, I can't do that day, I'll do Super Cup instead?
I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest. I agreed to do the Super League Light season with Drake, and I think I just threw myself a little bit too deep into it, and the first couple of rounds sort of gave me a bit of a confidence knock, to be honest. The first 2 rounds were okay, but I made a few mistakes, and then because I made a few mistakes in the first 2 rounds, the next rounds I put a bit more pressure on myself, and everything just sort of toppled from there, and I had to take a little bit of a break. And the rest of the season went a little bit better. Sometimes we got lucky with the weather, especially with, I think the rain suits me a little bit better than the dry sometimes. And I think a joint combination of not feeling too comfortable in the Super League Lights car. The upgrades thing, I don't think it necessarily made a massive difference over the season. I wouldn't say our car was particularly slower than anyone else. I think it was more that I just didn't have the time to put into it. And I like the idea of a spec series more, because you can just sort of put your money where your mouth is a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, if you beat someone, they can just turn around and say that your car's better. Whereas, for me, a spec series, at the end of the day, if you can turn around and win a race or put in a performance against people and completely dominate something, then they don't really have anything to take away from you.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I know you and me last year, obviously we both competed against each other in Super League Lights. The conversations we'd have, like, what's going wrong? Like, we just couldn't understand it. And a lot of it was around tyres. I know I think you'd probably admit you're quite aggressive on your tyres. And
Yeah.
it is different, isn't it? Yeah, it's completely different. I remember us having these conversations, like, what the hell are we doing wrong? Like, we don't know. But it is good to see you in Super Cup. Like I said, you are quick. I know you're quick. I don't care if you say you're not. You are. So it'd be great to see how you do. Dan, are you going to be in the car anytime this season? Obviously, as reserve manager, are you planning to be?
We'll see. I'm pretty. Is it? It's Tuesday. I'm pretty free on Tuesdays, so it'll probably be just a case of if one of the guys can't make it, I'll just jump in on short notice, and hopefully I could do a decent job.
Do we want to announce our other driver now?
Who's the third?
It's an exclusive on the broadcast.
Yeah, we've done well.
Go on, Matt.
We've nailed it.
Do it. Go on, Matt.
So for this season, I'll probably butcher his name.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting you to do it.
So this season, I'll be partnering with Lorenzo Di Chutis.
Oh yeah.
So we're hoping to put in some strong performances. We seem pretty close pace-wise, and hopefully we can make something of a good season.
Fantastic. Well, there we go, Stefan. If we've done anything, we've got an exclusive on the broadcast.
We have an exclusive broadcast.
Fantastic.
Love that.
Brownie points.
So, taking that into consideration, then I'll probably go to you, then, Dan, as the manager. What are you expecting of Matt and Lorenzo? What are you expecting? Are you expecting, like David before, maybe a top 5, or are you just looking to have a bit of fun, see what comes out? Really?
I think it's a bit of both, really. Like, I want to see decent performances because I want to do well, but it's sort of one of them things where I just want them to have fun at the end of the day, which is sort of the main thing. Just consistent point finishes, maybe the odd podium, maybe the odd win, something like that. We'll just take it, see how it goes. We'll see how strong the actual grid is and see how much work we'll have to actually put in, and we'll take it as it goes.
Lovely. What about you, Matt? Have you got a specific aim for drivers? Are you aiming for like a top 10 or a top 5, or is it just maybe nab a win, like Dan said, or nab a podium here and there?
Well, I did half a season in Supercup 2 years ago in 2018, and I think I managed 6th. I'll have to double check that. But I managed to get myself into a decent position in the championship with half a season. So a personal aim of mine would be to top 3 if I can, but I'd be happy with the top 5.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think you've certainly got the talent. Any teams that scare you? Obviously, like David was saying, Crossfire, team yourselves, obviously were mentioned as well. Any teams that you looking at and thinking they're strong?
At the moment, Crossfire.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
And H2O or H20 Monaco. I don't think anybody else has particularly shown much so far. Going in, looking at some of the driver lineups, I think we hopefully should be pretty competitive and quite up there. But I'd say Monaco and Crossfire are probably the main rivals at the moment, and the rest of the teams are sort of remains to be seen at the moment.
Cool. Well, I'm banning them, Stefan. They didn't say my team.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. No, that's fair. I think the consensus is, yeah, Crossfire. They're the teams up there that are probably going to be, like you said, towards the top. That's it from me, Stefan. Anything else from you, or just go right back to
nailed that interview.
Oh, thanks. What can I say?
True pro.
Yeah. Thank you, lads. We wish you both the best of luck. Obviously, Dan for your first season as Supercup as manager, and Matt for your return to the Supercup.
Thank you very much.
Any last words?
Look out for the livery reveal on the 4th. We've done something a bit different. Hopefully, we'll stand out from the crowd a little bit. Last season, we went with grey, lighter grey, and red. And it turns out that was a pretty common theme. Looking at some of the liveries this season, that seems to be continuing. So hopefully we stand out a little bit. So keep an eye out for that on the 4th of March.
Wow.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, boys. It's been lovely to
you.
meet you as always.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck for the season, and we will see you next week, and we'll see you in Australia.
Cheers. See
Thank
you there.
you. See you later.
So we've got another driver, and well, he's mine, so I won't do the interview. I'll let you do this one, Stefan. It's Ben Willis.
It's Mr. Leadfoot himself. How are you, my friend?
Good evening. How are you guys? I'm very good.
We've had fun.
We've been getting by.
Have you now?
How was the test session been going, Ben? It's been an interesting one, considering rain's decided to turn up.
I think I've spent at least half it backwards. Living up to the Leadfoot name. No, it's been good. We've learned a lot between myself and Tom. A lot actually into tyres. That's where we've kind of focused a lot of our learning, looking at crossover points. Tom managed to get a run on the dries before it started raining, so we have a decent idea on tyre drop off and grip and things like that. Unfortunately, it's kind of got to a point now where it's a bit too wet to do anything else really. So outside of a few experimental setup changes, we've kind of decided to call it for now and switch focus back to Melbourne really.
So me and Parker have been talking quite a lot about, we've been running through the teams and through the drivers and who's hoping to achieve what, let's say. What are yours, and this is obviously your first season working with Tom, I think, isn't it? Correct
Yes,
me.
it is, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Oh, good. See, I definitely do research. How's that been initially? How's that first thing going?
Good.
How are you working?
Tom's a great guy. He's switched on. He has some pretty, lofty ambitions. I think he's set on being towards the front of the grid, and that's really good for the team. I think personally, I'm more looking towards consistency and trying to get into the points and get some decent finishes there. But I'm fully behind supporting Tom and his quest for the best results possible. Really, I think we got a lot done today. I think we clicked pretty well, so I'm really looking forward to it.
How you find the car consistency-wise? I mean, we've obviously had updates. I mean, we were looking at them last night, and I crashed it many a time.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I nearly broke my wrist. It was great fun. How are you finding this updated car now? Because obviously we're closer to 2019 than we were a few days ago. How's it been? How are you finding that sort of consistency?
Yeah, so I think Parker mentioned it earlier that if you'd asked me 24 hours ago, I'd be kind of dreading this session. And then whatever the updates were last night to the tyres, to if there was anything done to the brakes, I'm not fully sure on what was done. But whatever changed there was perfect for me. It gave me the confidence to, just to attack a bit more, brake a bit later, just have that comfort in the car that I needed. And it's feeling really good. I think we've got a really good base set up. We know there's a few areas we need to work on, but the idea of today was to kind of find out more, focusing on the tyre, as I said, trying to work out, where's the drop off, where's the grip loss, how far can we take these, where's the crossovers, and then setup wise is something we'll tailor towards Melbourne and round one, and making sure we can take our base setup and really specialise there. But first impressions, really good, really good.
The theme of the season, for some reason, it would appear, is that we've got a lot of touring car drivers coming over to open season, like open wheelers.
I think we all got bored.
Well, you must have done, because like a few of you come back and knowing you all, you've all got love-hate relationship for open wheelers. So it's a bit of this. I remember you were saying you weren't sure about doing sort of open wheeler racing this season, as you do every year, Ben. What tempted you back into doing full-time drive?
I think, as you
I
say,
can answer that one.
yeah, no, it's Parker.
He's just
I think
such a babe.
every year, I end up going to GPV Day thinking I haven't actually done much at GPV in terms of racing, or I've done a few races, but never really committed to a full season. And I keep thinking back and going, I should probably give this another crack. And this year the spot was open at PB. I obviously know Parker very well. It kind of all sort of fell into place, and it's just a good opportunity to race in a team where it's not there's not the pressure to get the top results. However, there's an environment where we're all trying to push each other to be as quick as we can, but still have fun at the same time. And that's the kind of environment I want with racing. I don't want to turn up at a team where you're expected to be, top 5 every week, and if you're not, then bye bye. I want that environment where I can learn a bit more about driving quickly and finding a bit more skill. But there's not that pressure there. So I think being a PB, perfect team, Supercup, looking like a really good grid this year. Plenty of talent. It's going to be tough, but a really good challenge, and I'm really up for it.
Suppose my last question then, and this is for you as well, Park. I'm going to turn the ties on you. What are the goals? What are PB's aims?
Yeah, what are my goals, Parker?
What is Ben's
Well-
PDP objectives for this season?
Well, I've already told him he's winning the title, and Tom's got to stay behind him. I've already said.
Right, this has changed since we last spoke.
We are now having
I think on a serious note, I think it's like I said earlier, I think Ben said it himself just a minute ago, looking to get some points towards the middle of the end of the season, just to get used to the car. From Ben's point of view, like you said, he's a touring car driver primarily. Getting used to the open wheelers, Mr. Leadfoot. I can join you on that Leadfoot, don't worry. But I personally have faith in him. I know how quick he can be in a touring car when it all comes together. And I think in Tom, he's got a great partner to learn from. Tom is blindingly quick. I will say that until my deathbed, having worked with him both as a team manager and a teammate. Honestly, I think Ben can get top 10s quite on his day. I think get to a reverse grid. I think it's possible. Tom, I want to push him, but I think he can get a win. I do think Tom can have a win this season. It may be a race 2, but I do think Tom has the talent and the and like Ben said, he is so motivated. I've been saying all session. I've never seen it in him before. Like 2015 was a long time ago, and even then it wasn't as it's crazy. So, but yeah, that's from my point of view. I just want to see Ben grow in confidence as well as score a few points here and there. I don't have a set target for position in terms of drivers or teams. Like I said, it's just have fun, and with Tom and Ben, I know that'll happen.
Exactly. I think Parker said everything that I've kind of wanted him to say there in terms of goals and targets. But yeah, it's about having fun, but pushing each other to get the best results, and I'm sure the comfort and the points will come across the season.
Perfect. So if Van der Voort doesn't win a race, we can rinse Parker in Twitter, chat, and everywhere else. Cool.
Excellent. Cool.
That's why I can stand you.
Oh,
yeah, no, I think, like I said, Ben, we know what we're looking. Like you said, you know what we've been looking to tonight. You've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. You looking forward to Australia? Have you got any aims for Australia, or is it just from this is my commentator hat sitting on? What are your aims for Australia? Is it to get some points, or I want some points?
I want 2 clean races and to be there or thereabouts. I think if we don't get points, then okay. But personally, I want to be as close as possible to the points, and that gives me something to build on and sort of give me the confidence that we can be there, we can mix it. I think for Tom, it'll be drive as best as he can and get the best result possible. I know we've already agreed that we're going to try and do some more setup work over the weekend, try and hammer something out that's really really solid for Melbourne. And I think more laps I do, more comfort I get, then hopefully we'll get closer to the points.
perfect.
Lovely. I'll buy a wheel and I can help you. Yay!
Amazing.
Yeah, that's it from me. Yep, Stefan, I'm sure, like I said, covered. So, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
I'll probably speak to you at some point in the weekend.
I'm sure we will.
But yes, thank you very much for the interview. It's been lovely insight, and
No worries.
we will see you next week in Fuji and in Australia.
Will do. See you then.
Bye, Ben.
Ben. I think we're going to wrap it up. I do have one more question, actually. I was going to get onto it. Stefan, like I was saying, you've obviously done a lot of website. How's that coming along? Obviously, you've shown bits and pieces to the management team. Obviously, you don't have to reveal everything if you don't want to. Obviously, up to you. But how's it coming along?
I hate you for asking this. Damn you.
I knew.
So-
Do you know what? I wasn't sure. Go on.
Oh God, James did this last year in a World GT broadcast, and honestly, no. So we've reassessed priorities technically coming into the new season. We've got, as was mentioned in GPV Day last year, I can't remember. I wasn't there. I was too busy getting drunk in London. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to launch a new brand site coming into the new season. So we've aimed for, I think it's the first Super League round. Is what we're going to aim for. So this new site's going to have event information, standings, and it's just going to revamp sort of the media side and the event information side. And then what we're going to look to do is build up new systems for 2021. We've got new rule changes provisionally put in. So we're kind of hoping to aim for that as the 2021. It's going to be a bit weird because we're going to have effectively two things going on at the same time, but it just kind of makes us easier to transition into 2021, where it would appear to have many plans as he normally does. So that's kind of the goal. A revamped look for 2020, and then we'll build management up for 2021.
Perfect. And yeah, you're right. Will does have a lot of plans. I've got a few myself. I know Menno, Rob, all the team do. So it's going to be exciting times in GPVWC. And why would you not want to join? Quick plug. Obviously, en.gpvwc.com to have a look around. Join our Discord as well, and we will be more than happy to help you. Any questions? If you do have any burning questions, community-wise, myself or Menno Clunt will be absolutely happy to help. We'll do our best to get any questions to you. And yeah, that's it. Been a fun test, hasn't it? Obviously, a bit of rain, nice bit of track. Time for everyone. Anything to take away, or just a bit of pre-season?
It's definitely just a pre-season. I think the rain spiced it up a bit and given an opportunity, but I don't think we're going to get a full idea until Fuji, really. So,
well, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Stefan, for joining me. It's
fun.
been a laugh, as always, with you, my good friend. Luckily,
course.
we weren't showing Rocket League, so imagine if they'd been seeing that.
Let's not.
No. But yes, thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll see you commentating around more. You're a very good commentator. I think you should do it more.
I've done bits and bobs.
Bits and bobs. Do you have any plans for racing this season? Obviously, very, very quickly. Do you have any plans to do any racing this season, or are you a bit too bogged down?
No, not really. Mine's more coming from a management side now, so I'm looking after the technology side of stuff. So it's mainly focusing on that and helping this league grow. So that's mainly my primary objective here.
Fair enough. Well, like I said, thank you very much. Thank you, Gerrit. Not only for cameras tonight, but for everything he's done so far this pre-season to get the broadcast running, to get the overlay running, to get the broadcast group up and running, and doing it so well. So thank you very, very much, Gerrit. You are an unsung hero. And the overlay looks brilliant. Obviously, a few more little bits to iron out, but that's what we're here for. Everyone else, thank you very, very, very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed. Our next broadcast, I believe, will be next week for Super League, the final pre-season test, which will be from, are we doing Formula Challenge? Oh, we're doing the Formula Challenge. We're doing the Formula Challenge race next week. Forgot about that. Whoops! I forgot. It's so quick. Formula Challenge next week. I can't remember off the top of my head who's going to be commentating for that one, but we do have the first race of the season in Formula Challenge will be Australia, as we always do when we kick off the season. Thank you very much. Shut up. We look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you very much for watching, and it's goodbye from me.
Laters, peeps.
Goodbye from Stefan, and we will see you next Tuesday for Formula Challenge. Thank you very much.